Mandy.
That's Mandy saying hello. Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Spinster Sisters again.
Hey, so happy to have you.
Yup. So we hope everyone's been well in the last couple weeks. We've been well.
We've been great. Hey, Terri, guess what?
What?
Chicken butt.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Why?
Chicken thigh.
Oh God, I knew you were going to say that, and I'm like,
you walked right into it, though.
I should not have responded. Why?
No, you shouldn't have. And then, frankly, if any listener does not yet know who the low-hanging fruit comedian here is, and the word comedian is a loose term we're using it here. Clearly.
Comedian. All right, so we've had a good couple weeks, and last time we joined you, Mandy was in Provincetown. So she's wrapped that trip up, and it was great.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be back here.
I'm so sure. Oh, and we did want to, we do have to throw a shout out to our superfan Jess, because we misspoke on our last episode. And we said that none of our fans had come to help us out or make any suggestions or recommendations for Mandy and King for their little mini vacay and where to go. And in fact, Jess did completely offer her house in Vermont for Mandy to stay with King. And of course, the thing is, Terri missed that message.
Right. So I just want to clarify again, we did not misspeak.
So yes, Terri completely missed that message in Facebook. And that is why Mandy handles our social media.
Precisely. But I would like to say thank you very much to superfan Jess, because I may take you up on that offer later.
Yeah, down the road. Yeah, we'll be like, I'll call you next week. Be like, Jess,
I need to wait.
Remember that whole Vermont house? But thank you, Jess. So yeah, so it was great. But Mandy's back from Provincetown now, and then we got some even more quality time away from each other.
Oh, it's never
right.
Enough. Never enough time.
Never enough. But I took a trip. The old NYC, went to the city,
the Big Apple.
It was a great trip. It was a big birthday for Daphne.
DD, the big. Can we say
All
it?
out to D.
Can we say the age?
I don't know.
Okay, so we won't. Just a big,
it's a big birthday.
That's all we need to know.
So, I mean, it was really an awesome trip, because the city is, I will say this, the city's coming back to life, people. And frankly, I think that I got there just at the right time.
Okay.
Because
why.
That was starting to explain that, actually. In middle sentence. Why?
Well, why, Terri? God.
There are still COVID restrictions and all of that, and people are staying at home, and there's like less people riding on the subway and stuff, right? So there's less.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
About the COVID guidelines being lifted a little bit. Well, not lifted, but they're still existing. Are people required still to wear masks outside?
I think people are not required to anywhere anymore if you've been vaccinated and you fall through that 2-week rule.
Oh, that's right.
But still inside, but people still wear them a lot.
Oh yeah, okay.
In New York, yeah,
okay.
They're all over the place. But
forgive the interruption. Please continue.
But you've still got people that are being COVID conscious and staying home, and I think people that are a lot more careful. But there are obviously still millions of people in the city, but it's not too much of a clusterfuck right now.
That would be a good time for me to go then.
This is the time to go to New York, people. Okay. It's almost like visiting on Memorial Day weekend, which, here's my plug. I highly recommend it, because half the city is gone somewhere. They want to go out of town.
Okay.
The weather is great at that point, and it's just less crowded, and you can walk around for a few days. And it's, I think, a cheap weekend to go. So
I think you just nailed as to why I don't like New York City as much as other people. No knocking on the NYC. Don't hate me, NYC peeps. Maybe it is because it's just crowded, and I just never really put
it's not
two
for
and two
everybody.
together.
I will not debate you on that. A lot of people, it's just too intense, and there's always people around.
Okay.
And it is absolutely true. I agree with you. And sometimes you just want to rip your hair out and scream in the middle of an avenue somewhere.
Okay.
You just can't walk around.
Hopefully you didn't do that while you were there.
I did not. But we had a lot. We did a lot of eating. We drank a bit, not a ton of drinking, and we just walked. Just walking within an inch of our lives.
Oh, lovely. Did you, so it would counteract the amount of food that you ate.
That's right.
Did you have a favorite destination for food? That was the weirdest question in history.
No, that's not a weird question.
But the way in which it was asked.
So we ate in a lot of places, but Daphne and I have a favorite restaurant on the Upper East Side.
Yes.
Called Heidi's House.
That's right. You told me about that place. Yeah.
We did actually go to Heidi's house. And
that's nice.
Freddie was working and he remembered me.
Oh.
I mean, it's.
And how many years had it been since you've been to Heidi's?
Well, it's probably been 5-6 years since I've been there, and I moved out of there 6 years ago. So.
And he remembered you.
He's good. He's good. It's like Michael over at Delfino's.
Yep.
He remembers a face.
Yep. They know that's why they're in the job they are.
So I took Amtrak, and I'm also going to throw a big plug, for Amtrak right now, because Amtrak is cheap now, y'all.
What?
It's like wicked cheap. Book in advance. You will not believe the cost of Amtrak tickets on the Northeast regional trains. It's almost like the price of a bus ticket. That's how cheap it is.
What? And that's a train's much more comfortable than a bus. Am I right?
Oh, you're right.
Can I get an amen? Amen.
Drops you right off at Penn Station. You're right there. You don't need to do nothing crazy. But a funny thing happened on the way there on the Amtrak, Mandy.
What happened on the Amtrak?
Okay, I was reading Son of Hamas.
Oh, well, naturally.
Which, thank you, Linda. Obviously, my recent viewing of Fauda, got us talking about stuff in the region. And Linda, as you know, bought the book for me and shipped it to me.
Right, Linda. You're so sweet.
And I'm sitting there on the old Amtrak reading. I was like, real into it and feeling guilty because, Mandy, as you know, I do my morning affirmations and gratitude journaling.
Yes, you do. You love when I interrupt that too. It's your favorite part.
Yes. So I was supposed to do those things first, and then really the book was going to be my reward for getting through the affirmations and the journaling.
And you didn't care.
Well, so I just started reading the book, and the next thing you know, a couple hours passed, and you're like, oh man. So the guilt was getting to me.
Did you get your affirmations in?
Yeah, well, yes, but here's what happened. So the guilt was getting to me, and I put the book down and got all my stuff out, ready to do it. And I was now concentrating on bettering myself.
Okay. Well, you should concentrate on that more.
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm focusing on my shit there. And then, as I'm about to dive in all the affirmations and look at that journal, all of a sudden, I heard people speaking really loudly to each other.
Okay.
Right around me. And I was in the quiet car.
Oh, you shut your faces, people. This is the quiet car.
This is the quiet car.
Ain't no sound in the quiet car. That's why you're there. You're reading, doing your affirmations. Who are these people? Shut your faces.
Well, I'll tell you who they were. It was very jarring because it had been so silent for hours on this train in the quiet car. And so I was, I was ripe for that whole, let's put the book down. Let's get all affirmation. Let's get in a Zen place. And
sounds like it was a perfect place for that.
It would have been.
Except for these bastards.
I hear these people talking real loud, and I check out the source of the racket. I realized that I had been surrounded on all sides by the Amish.
What? Were they coming to kill you? Were they capturing you?
No. You don't be racist against the Amish.
Because they're a very, very violent group of people. They're so violent.
Stop discriminating against the Amish, Mandy. Okay, that's not where I was going with this.
What were they?
See, that's where you went.
Yeah, clearly. What? Because I would have freaked out if all of a sudden I looked up and there was a bunch
so many Amish people.
Or what were they saying to each other?
Well,
or were they speaking Pennsylvania
They were speaking
Dutch?
English, but the thing is, I couldn't make stuff out. They were talking about, who they were visiting. I heard some names like Daniel and Joseph. I heard some names.
Nice.
And I heard something about farming and some equipment. But
What was the age group?
Well, that's the thing. There were like 8 people. I mean, and they varied in ages. They were from like 20s to 60s, and they were in front of me. They were behind me. They were
Everywhere.
upright, back right.
I'm quite perplexed by this because don't they normally not use transportation?
No, I think they can. I think they can use trains and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, pardon my ignorance on that.
No,
if
it's
I
all
sounded
right.
like a complete jerk,
No.
then no offense to the Amish peeps.
No. I'm sure we have a lot of Amish listeners out there.
Sure,
I know they listen to podcasts a lot.
they're our number one group.
I didn't expect a bunch of Amish people to be getting on the train around Stamford, Connecticut. I mean, we weren't like Lancaster, PA or anything.
Right.
But anyway,
Right.
Point of all of this is that the Amish were not respecting the rules of the quiet car.
Those sons of bitches. Who do you think you are, Amish? I don't
No.
care if you're a peaceful bunch.
I know, but it was so funny because...
Well, you know what it is? They're not used to being in public, so they don't know what the rules are.
Well, I don't
Why
know.
are
They
you
can read English, and it's a quiet car. I mean,
Did it say quiet car in 100 different places?
I think so.
where
And
people see it?
they make an announcement, and it was funny because
Wait, they make an announcement in the quiet car?
they make a general announcement.
But
when
that's against the quiet car?
Actually, no, because you must tell people in the quiet car that their stop is coming up,
Fine.
that they're going to be at their stop. It was like a sociological experiment, though, because no one wanted to say anything to the Amish.
Everyone was so annoyed by them speaking.
No one wanted to say anything about keep your goddamn voices down because they were afraid to interact with the Amish.
Because they were like, oh, they're such a peaceful group of people, but no.
Well, it's funny because you could see all the necks craning to see where the source of the noise was coming. And all these people that were looking back, once they saw it was a bunch of Amish people, they made the same confused face. They were
They're like, do I say something?
right.
Or-
Like, oh no. So it was funny watching like the awkward, all the faces of like people wanting to be like, dude, this is why I sit in the quiet car. I really want it to be quiet here. I've got some work to do or something. And then they're like, oh God, I don't want to talk to the Amish people and tell them to be quiet.
Yeah, what do I say? All right, that's fantastic. I'd like to side note or rewind back to when we were younger. Do you remember when we went to Lancaster County?
Oh God, yeah, we went to Amish country.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I'd like to discuss my favorite part of that trip that you ruined for me.
Penelope?
Yeah, it was. So, listeners, Penelope was an adorable little stuffed doll.
Hand-quilted, handmade doll by the Amish.
She was my favorite. I think I still have her, to be honest with you, because that's not creepy. That's not creepy. That's not creepy at all for a single woman to still have dolls.
No, that's all right.
But I named her Penelope, and I started a song for her. We were like, all right, listen, people, I wasn't 25. I was like 8, if not younger at the time. And I was like, Penelope, Penny, redacted, because I don't think we've told our last names yet. So I continued to do it. Penelope, Penny, minute. Do you want to do what you did, Terry? Your turn. Penelope.
Smelly.
There you go. Oh my God. I'm like, do you not remember what you did?
I ruined the Penelope Penny redacted last name song and kept calling her Smelly. I know.
It's so
I'm
rude.
Sorry if I offended Penelope.
Yeah, she's pissed.
I mean, yes, we had a great trip to Pennsylvania with Mary and Jack. We were far too young to appreciate Gettysburg and really the Amish country, but we were like, where's the rock sugar candies and give me baked goods? Okay, well, the Amish have that, so we were okay. And we're like, I couldn't care less about Gettysburg at that age. Now it's like super fascinating.
Yeah.
But
we also got to go to Hershey Park.
And like Sesame Place.
Oh, I forgot about Sesame
Didn't we?
Place.
Yeah.
I think that sounds right.
Hershey, PA.
Mom and Daddy got me a Hershey Kiss hat. That was like shiny, like a rapper Hershey Kiss hat. One year for Halloween, Mom made me a Hershey Kiss like costume. It was just like the silver cloth that we just shoved a bunch of like crumpled up newspaper in it. So I looked like a Hershey Kiss.
Nice.
Want to know the worst part about that?
What's that?
It was a cold Halloween and I had to wear a coat over it. I was so mad because I was so proud of that. I was so proud of that costume.
I remember being so bummed when you'd have to ruin your Halloween costume with the coat. But dude, when we were younger, Halloween was cold. Yeah, I mean, it was like 30s a lot of the time.
It was.
Definitely 40s. And we were freezing. Yeah. We were forced to listen to the Amish on this train ride for the rest of the way into the city. And it was just really fascinating to hear their speech patterns because the emphasis is on the wrong syllables. And then when I got off at Penn Station, it was great because then it became someone else's problem because they stayed on the train and I left. And all the rest of the people on there, I had to listen to the loud speaking Amish for the rest of the Northeast regional ride.
Did anyone get on the train at that point and into that car?
Oh, probably, yeah.
So you didn't warn them?
No. Beware the Amish.
See, you don't want to go in there. You don't want to go in that car.
I didn't do any problem solving there because I don't like conflict. So a lot of other stuff went on then the past couple weeks too, Mandy, right? We had the semi-official kickoff of the season with our wall drinks.
We did. It wasn't the actual season opener. It was more like a minor league season opener.
Semi-official for the Derby.
Derby
Day. It was Derby Day. Trisha and I wore our fascinators. We looked super cute.
I wore a hat. I wasn't a fascinator. But you guys, everyone, all the ladies wore hats. And yes, you and Trisha had lovely fascinators on. Yours was better than Trisha's.
Oh no.
JK, you guys.
You know Trisha's listening to this. She's like, no, my pale pink one with the feather was way better than Terry's.
It was a tie.
You decided to take King out for a little field trip, didn't we?
We did decide to do that. And we ended up in the Boston Common.
Mandy had an appointment.
Yeah, I had an appointment in Dorchester. It was a work day. I work from home, so I was dressed, not in my Sunday best. So I'm wearing a Just Do It Nike sweatshirt and my pajama pants.
Your purple pajama pants that looked like bleach had been spilled all over it, okay?
Yeah.
Your hair was?
It was down. It wasn't horrible. Okay. It was very windy that day, though, so it probably looked worse as the day continued. And Uggs.
And your Uggs. And your old ass beat up janky Uggs.
Clearly, I looked beautiful. So I had King with me. I needed to take him out.
Running late.
Yeah, running late. I'm booking down the stairs. I got King next to me, and I'm like, shit. I'm still in what I'm wearing, but I was going to be late to my appointment. So I had to just get in the car and suck it up. So I left King in the car while I went for my appointment. And so I came back, I felt bad. And I was like, this poor dog, doesn't get to do anything. So I'm like, we're going to go to a park. Haven't been to a park.
I mean, that seems logical. You're like, you know what? I've got the rest of the afternoon off. It's a beautiful day.
Gorgeous.
I'm in the car with my dog. Let's bring my dog to a park.
It'll be a treat for everybody. So I decided to go to the Boston Common, which I haven't been there in 100 years.
I'd like to explore that decision, though, a little bit more because so we're in Dorchester. We want to go to a park with the dog. For some reason, Mandy chooses the Common. None of other dog parks around back towards us or back in the burbs. But she decides to go in to Back Bay into the Common.
Well, I will say this. I haven't been in the city for 100 years. And I ended up looking at the skyline. I'm like, oh, I haven't been in the city. Let me go. So we get there. I get out of my car. I start walking. And listeners should know I never have King on a leash.
That is key for this story.
It is.
King is off leash.
Yes.
At all times.
So I have him off leash and I get as I start walking, because he's already like halfway down the street when I get out, and I'm like, I'm wearing this Just Do It sweatshirt, these purple pajama pants, and this pair of hideous Uggs. And I'm like, but I'm in it now. I'm in it. There's nothing I can do. It is what it is. I paid for parking. I'm not going back in the car. This is it. So I walked around. It was a lovely day. King got to, sniff around stuff, and, I had him off leash, and so people were really happy about that. Well, I mean,
the best was the exploratory conversation because we're recapping that day, and I'm like, oh, so what'd you do? And I went to the Common with King, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool that you guys walked around. Oh, all right. And so then, more questions. I'm like, oh, so were people, petting King? Were they like, oh, different? She's like, well, no, because he was off leash. I'm like, wait. Hang on. I'm like, he was off leash in the Common?
And I'm like,
yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, I had him off leash, and oh yeah, and I swear, I totally didn't have time to change before
you had asked. I'm like, yeah, no, he was off leash. I'm like, and I was dressed like this, and they probably thought I was some crazy lunatic with my dog just running around the Common.
And I gave her once over and was like, yes, actually, you're the person that everyone was afraid of there at the Common with the off leash dog. We were talking through some topics here the past few days, and so we have a couple of friends who have recently gone under the knife. Okay, so we want to give a shout out to Millhouse and Hillary.
Yes, shout out to Stinkhouse and HGT.
God bless you both. So so that got us talking about hospital stays and injuries in general, right? And just
I've had quite a few.
Mandy has. And on top of the hypochondria, Mandy is also a bit prone to injuries.
I am. I'm like a walking accident waiting to happen.
And I am not, so I'm the polar opposite end, but it scares me to even say that out loud because I'm totally jinxing it right now by even saying that.
We just jinxed it there, but that's fine.
So we tried to remember all of Mandy's brushes with death and injuries.
I would say they've all been brushes with death. There's been one
brush with death, but the rest of them just landed you in an ER or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the first one we've already discussed with the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, the Dukes of Hazzard broken collarbone. Everyone knows that story already.
Yeah, and if you didn't listen to that story already, go back.
Yep, Mandy needed someone to wipe her bum, and she fell down the stairs, broke a collarbone during Dukes of Hazzard. Okay, that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. Don't give it all away.
The next, in chronological order, Mandy.
The next one was trying to close the curtains in our living room.
Yeah, we never closed those drapes in the living room ever. And Mandy was probably like 5 years old at this point, maybe 4 or 5. And she
I thought
decides,
it would be nice.
Like, we're all leaving.
Yeah,
Mandy's
we're all leaving.
I'm going to close the curtains.
I'm going to do something nice for my parents and close these drapes that we never close.
So she's standing on the side of the couch.
No. Oh. I was standing on one of those like plastic chairs that kids sit on, standing on that on my tiptoes, trying to pull the drapes over, and the chair gives out, and my head goes right along the side of our glass end table.
A rectangular glass coffee table with pointed ends. Not pointed like sharp to touch, but, if you fall into it.
A corner. Went right into my eyebrow, which is kind of scary if you think about it. It was a close call.
Could have been much worse.
Just the point of this is like, why on earth would I have closed the drapes?
Yeah.
That was like a joke. I think even mom and daddy were like, why would you close the drapes?
No one in all of your 4 or 5 years on this earth has done that in the living room. All right. So you had stitches on the eyebrow. Mm-hmm. And then next time was also stitches.
I was hit in the head with a horseshoe.
That's right. You were standing right out playing horseshoes.
With 2 of my friends, Tara and Lori. And we're playing horseshoe. I think we were like 12 at the time. And me being the comic that I am, was being very, very animated and telling a story to Tara. And all I hear is, watch out. And I turn my head to the right, and there's a slow motion horseshoe coming straight to my face.
Face. Yeah.
Right off the forehead, right above my left eye. What I felt the worst about, to be honest with you, is, I was wearing your shirt because I was like, I'm going to stay in Terri's shirt. She's going to get so mad at me.
Yeah, I probably was. I probably did.
I mean, listen, you wanted to watch the Dukes of Hazzard versus caring about my broken collarbone. So why would you
sue me? I was like 5. All right. So then next we've got a bout with the old deep vein thrombosis.
We can joke about it because I didn't die from this.
No, but you had like legit DVT.
Yeah,
that
DVT.
had to get removed. And
actually, 2 weeks before the DVT was diagnosed, my left calf was wicked big and swollen and hot. And I went to the ER and they're like, it's phlebitis. And which is clearly the swelling of the phleb. Everyone knows that. Terri almost just spit out her water. It was great. They're like, yeah, just keep your leg up. And so,
oh my God, what a misdiagnosis.
Yeah, seriously.
Jesus.
Oh, you know what? I think I was at same hospital I was at in the ER a few weeks back. It was the same goddamn hospital. It totally was. So I ended up in the ER. It was a DVT. It was diagnosed as a DVT. So I was on the old Coumadin. Shout out to Coumadin. Thanks for thinning my blood for all those months.
But I was like, serious, you couldn't drink or do anything.
No. I remember my doctor was like, you're going to have to drive really carefully because, if you get in a car accident, like you get a small cut, like you're bleeding. I'm like, oh God, because I don't drive safely. Everyone knows that. I'm like, what do you mean I have to follow the speed limit? It's the lamest thing I've ever heard.
The rules of the road. Okay, so you had DVT. And then what's also plagued you since then, we've alluded to this in previous episodes, the old kidney stones.
If anyone has ever dealt with a kidney stone, I feel your pain, man, and it's just awful. And there's probably something I could do dietary to help prevent them from continuing to grow in my body.
As you say this, all I want to go is go to JP Lex.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not going to help.
I'm sure the calcium in all of the ice cream that I eat is not assisting in these calcium oxide kidney stones.
No,
I think
that's nothing to do with it.
But I'm like, but if I put
the dairy and the cereal, the milk.
They said, if you're going to have any dairy, you should mix with it some kind of like protein, like a nut. So really, if I have ice cream with peanut butter sauce.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
That's healthy.
Right.
That's your health meal.
That's my health meal.
So Mandy's had, let's say, 2 routine kidney stone removals. Yes. And then 1 very unroutine.
Yes.
Non-routine.
That was very non-routine. I liken it to she's having a baby. The scene in which the wife is almost dying in the...
And Kevin Bacon's in the waiting room.
Yeah,
and
crying.
Yeah.
Which is clearly not what happened.
I know.
But I likened it to that too because, all right, so I had my kidney stone surgery. I'm all in recovery. I'm recovering really well. I'm getting my clothes back on. They've called Terri to come pick me up because, again, as my domestic partner,
obviously that's
she's
my role.
Pickup for every surgery. I get everything going. I'm sitting now in a chair. I'm no longer in the bed. All of a sudden, I just start feeling so hot. I'm sweating profusely, start convulsing, and couldn't breathe. They got me back on the gurney and I'm convulsing. I have no idea what's going on, but I do remember Terri coming in to get me.
What happened was I got the call that Mandy's fine and come on in. And so here I am at the old Beth Israel in Needham.
Terri luckily is always late. So, I even said to the nurse, I'm like, she'll be here. I hope you're not looking for anyone to take this bed because she'll be a little bit. And thankfully you were this time.
I was a couple minutes late and I went in and everyone's like, oh, she's fine. She's fine. So I go to the waiting area and I see Mandy in the bed and I'm like, hey, and I look at Mandy. I think this is what you mean, where it's the Kevin. This is the where she's having a baby scene. Mandy's in the bed. I'm about to be like, hey, how was your kidney stone removal? Hey, what's up? And walk in, and all of a sudden the nurse is like, excuse me, I'm going to need you to step back. And they close the curtain around Mandy as I'm standing there. I hear machines beeping. They close the curtain. They're like, excuse me. One of the nurses is like, excuse me, let me walk you back to the waiting area.
You're like, what's going on?
Where they basically leave me and run back in. And I'm waiting in there. And then finally she comes out to tell me that,
that I almost died. I was pretty much almost septic. Like they said they were going to have to call it code red. Yeah. So basically I am now stable.
They kept you for 8 days because they were trying to diagnose the actual infection that was occurring and what bacteria caused that infection because they didn't know what the right treatment was.
Right.
So 8 days you're in the hospital from what was supposed to be routine kidney stone removal because of this crazy ass infection.
And how famous I am, Terri, in my own mind. I am the 5th documented case of someone with this crazy bacteria. So you're welcome, science.
It wasn't a common infection bacteria, right?
You're welcome, science.
You're like a case study, a walking case study.
Am.
You're the New England Journal of Medicine. They're
right here in the flesh.
Case.
Doesn't stop. I'm sure there'll be more stories to come.
Well, yeah. So, almost septic and then in there for 8 days. So it was not, it was not fun.
Routine. Yeah, probably for the first 5 days, I had zero idea what was going on. Zero. I know that people had come in to visit me. I vaguely remember them being there. I was so drugged out. It was great.
So
it was
great.
great. But then once I started feeling better and I was like, what do I need to do to get the F out of this place?
Stir crazy, man. You got a little stir crazy.
I did. I mean, God forbid I read or anything like that.
As we were thinking about this recovery, and as you were talking to Millhouse recently from
Stinkhouse,
as she was recovering from her surgery, I think what you said is the only good thing about coming out of surgery and recovery is that, you know, you can watch a bunch of stupid shit on TV because
totally mindless stuff.
All you do, I mean, because all you can really do is sit and read and watch TV anyway. So if you're recovering like that, why not just catch up on a bunch of mindless stuff, right?
Right.
And you had mentioned this to Stinkhouse.
Yeah. I'm like, why have you not started watching New Kids on the Block videos yet? And she was like, I don't know.
Because that was a great idea by you. I mean, that's the sort of thing. You're sitting around after surgery and you're like, why don't I catch up on my 30-year-old NKOTB videos? And then we realized that some of you who know us will know this, but to really understand us, you must know this. We are giant NKOTB fans.
Don't judge us.
They could judge us. I don't care.
That's true too. Yeah. NKOTB forever.
Yeah. I mean, we were like the big mega fans. So, I mean, our rooms were plastered with posters and pins and bumper stickers and pillowcases.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah. My Joey McIntyre pillowcase.
Yep.
All right.
Terry, I will say this, that Terry stuck with Joey McIntyre the whole time.
I started as a Donnie Wahlberg fan during Hangin' Tough because he was like the bad boy with the long blonde hair that now is sort of gross because it looks like a rat tail when you really think about it. It wasn't
Jordan
quite.
had a rat tail.
Right. Oh yeah, he had a real legit rat tail.
That was a legitimate one, yeah.
But Donnie was sort of like the edgy one, but he was my favorite then. And then once we got into the step-by-step era, then it became Joey. Then Joey grew up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Okay, so we're going to move past Please Don't Go Girl. Then he gets a little bit older and then forget it was Joey Mac all the way. But you, Mandy.
I went through the gambit, except Danny. And Jonathan. Sorry. Danny is all Millhouses. Anyone else tries to get Danny, I will fight them for her.
Why did I think that you were Jordan the whole way?
No, because you're stupid.
Well,
you were so infatuated with Joey, you didn't care.
Well, no, because you were literally when we kept going to those shows. You were #1 Jordan fan.
I probably stopped liking Donnie because you liked him, and so I'm like, I have to do something different. And then it was Jordan, man. Hi, Jordan. And so it was Jordan all through until they came back. Remember they came back, Terry?
Yes, I sure do. Of course. I've seen them now twice since
I've seen them way too many. I did the meet and greet. I don't care. I don't care if I'm in $5,000 million worth of debt. I met them.
Well, wait, we also stalked. We did like the thing that
we did, yeah.
all the mega fans, all the girls did. And this is when it was harmless because we weren't actually stalking because we were with our parents. But all the kids must make a pilgrimage to the new kids' houses that were in Dorchester, Jamaica Plain, and Braintree. Because at that point, the Wahlbergs had bought that house for Alma in Braintree. And that's where we went. And may she rest in peace because she just recently passed away. But we went there and that's where we met Marky Mark because he was actually not super famous yet. And he was in that black Jeep Cherokee pulling out of, and he stopped and talked to us. So that was Marky Mark before he, like right when he was starting to be Marky Mark, but we knew all the siblings because we were obsessed. Yeah, so we just knew all 5 new kids, all the siblings and their families. Yeah. We waited overnight to get concert tickets. Oh, I know. This is a sore subject and it will be forever. And I get that. Terry here saw the New Kids on the Block front row center at the Worcester Centrum when she was 15 years old. And it was still to this day, perhaps the greatest night of my life.
I need you to shut up because let's tell the story about who
it was unfair to you. Literally, it's 30 years ago. Yeah. So we waited overnight and Mandy,
me and Terry.
So Mandy was only allowed to go to one concert. They were playing like 2 nights and Mandy was only allowed to go to one show. And I was a few years older, so I was allowed to go to both shows. Sarah and I were going to the first show on Friday night. And then a bigger group, like 4 of us, were definitely 4 or 5 of us were going on the second night. We were the first people in line at Good Vibrations on Route 9 in Framingham. Okay.
Good Vibrations.
Waited all night. So we get in there and we're up there and it's like Ticketron. I don't even know if it was Ticketmaster. I'm not sure.
It was.
But the very kind sales clerk, they opened the store. They let us in. I'm first in line. And so she's got the order in the computer system ready to go. So it's like 2 tickets for the opening night. And she just kept pressing enter, like right about 1 minute before all the Ticketrons, Ticketmasters in everywhere, all went off at the same time. She's pressing enter, 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 enter. And her finger must have just caught that enter button the second ever the system went up. And she comes back and says, "You got front row center." Okay.
Why didn't you get the 4 tickets first that your sister was going to that stayed overnight with you?
I don't know.
'Cause you were
maybe I was
selfish.
selfish and thought my chances were better. Of just
Probably,
2
and they were.
tickets, and it worked.
And they were.
But then let's not scoff. The next night we were probably about 20 rows back.
Yeah, no, we were in the first row of the second section back.
Yeah.
But
So they
not
were
center.
good seats, but
we were on the side.
I mean, front row center, who the hell ever gets that?
You do.
I mean,
and I
obviously,
should
which
have.
was, and
so
I
this is
was
the best part about it, though. How the night that you were there, again, Jordan's my favorite. Jordan's also Sarah's favorite. Sarah brought a rose to give to Jordan, and Sarah gives Jordan the rose.
And
Jordan takes the microphone that he's holding and says, "Thank you," into the microphone. That should have been me.
I know. It's true. It
should have been me.
Right. Well, it's funny because all I did for 4 hours that night was stand in that front row screaming at the top of my lungs. I was like, it was like the Beatlemania. See those girls in the 60s.
I wish there was a video
that just were like clutching, pulling their hair and screaming. That was me for 4 hours. And I
really
kept trying to get Joey to take my flowers, and Joey didn't take my flowers. Okay. So
Dick.
I know, such a dick.
So rude. So when I met the new kids on the block with my meet and greet, can I tell you that story with Donnie Wahlberg? Shout out to my friend Katie, who talked me into getting these meet and greets. So we go. Katie and her friends are like, they go every year. The way it works is that you need to go in. It's like you're in, you're out, done. But there's 2 people on either side of the new kids. So Katie had trained me. She's like, you go right up to Donnie, because Donnie's my favorite, like through and through, after I've gone through all of them. So Katie trained me. She's like, you go right up to Donnie. You say to Donnie, "This is my first time. I really want to have a picture with you." Donnie takes care of his fans. She knows Donnie Wahlberg because that man wanted to make out with me, but that's a different story. Okay. And so I like beelined it. I went straight. I'm there. I have his arm. And he's like, of course. Yeah, no, we got you. And then this couple comes up, one of whom is a police officer. And he and his wife were like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm a Boston police officer. Can we get a picture with you?" And the girl's trying to like get in between me and Donnie. Listen, dickwad, Boston cop, thank you for your service. Like, I don't care if you're a blue blood. I'm standing here with Donnie Wahlberg.
No one's going to get between you and Donnie Wahlberg.
Hell to the no.
And not even the law.
Not even the law. Millhouse is mad at me because I got my picture with Donnie. Then they switched and I like turned around and Danny was there. I'm like, oh, hey. I feel so bad. It was so awkward. Right. I leave and Donnie follows the group of us out right in front of me. He grabs my face with both hands and he goes, "Thank you for switching." I don't even know if I replied to him, but I was like, "Stop wanting me, Donnie." Like, seriously. I mean, you're only human, but stop. And this cop over here hates me now because I wouldn't let you switch.
See, Mandy, at the end of the day, you got closer to these guys than I ever did with my front row center for. And Crisscross and Marky Mark opened for them at that time. Yeah, it was mint. It was the best show. But we were crazy fans. Like, we choreographed dances, 5 of us in the backyard. We had dances for like half of the Hangin' Tough album.
Are we really going to share this?
So we choreographed all the dances in the backyard. We also, of course, recorded every concert they had, like pay-per-view and everything else on our VHS tapes.
Yep.
And we just watched those VHS tapes until we like destroyed them.
We should all been committed.
Literally dozens of times. Yeah, I know we were a bit nuts, but it was fun. It was fun, everyone.
It was fun.
We know there's a lot of you out there that feel the same way.
And you know what? You can come out. Come out.
You can come out. You know what? We invite you to come out. We invite you to share your favorite NKOTB stories with us. Yes. We want you to message us, post on our wall, post on anything, email us. You share your favorite New Kids on the Block story.
And we'll compare notes, and I will tell you why mine are better.
Till next time,
deuces.
Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe to the Spinster Sisters podcast on Apple or Google Podcasts or Spotify. And please follow us on social media,
where our Twitter handle is @SistersSpinster. You can also find us on Instagram @TheSistersSpinster and on Facebook @The Spinster Sisters Podcast. You can also email us at thespinstersisterspodcast@gmail.com. Bye!